We live in a golden age of roguelike games with projects like Hades, Binding of Isaac, Enter the Gungeon, and hundreds more gracing the indie landscape, each with its own twist attempting to draw players in like never before. However, with so many great roguelike games emerging on the scene, oftentimes it's easy for a great game to get buried amongst the shuffle, and that's exactly the case of today's game, Heroes of Hammerwatch. One of the most addicting and rewarding action fantasy roguelike games in the last several years, yet sadly, often forgotten about due to the surplus of games on the scene. So today, let's talk about Heroes of Hammerwatch Ultimate Edition and why you should give this overlooked classic a try. But before we dive into that, welcome to Ogle's channel. Thank you so much for watching today. If you haven't clicked that subscribe button down below, be sure and do that now for your latest and gaming news, reviews, content, and much more. Now, to be upfront, Blitworks did reach out to me ahead of time with a review copy of Heroes of Hammerwatch Ultimate Edition on Nintendo Switch, but as always, my reviews were honest, and that doesn't affect my review in any form or fashion as we go through this. But I have no kidding put hours into this game nearly every single night since I got my copy, and I'll continue to do so even after this review because there's still so much content in this game that I haven't gone through. But let's discuss why Heroes of Hammerwatch is such an overlooked classic. Heroes of Hammerwatch follows a series of characters who are attempting to restore their town to its former glory. The mine and the tower from where the wealth comes from has been overrun with creatures and monsters, and it's up to you to venture into the tower, reclaim the wealth, and allow the town to thrive again. While this story is pretty basic, there is lore that can be explored with conversations or throughout the DLCs, which are also included in this package. When you start the game up, you get to choose your hero for this mission as well, each with vastly different abilities. The Paladin for mostly melee, Archer for ranged attacks, a Sorcerer who casts spells for hybrid damage, the Warlock who casts melee spells, and a Witch Hunter who is a powerful DLC Magician. There are some unlockable characters as well, but I personally played the majority of the game with the Ranger. However, experimenting with the other characters does make you realize just how vastly different these character classes can make the game. You can also customize what your character looks like. However, with the sprites being so small, these customization options don't really separate you that much more from just the pre-made characters. Once you create your character, you begin the main game and you will notice your hub town is fairly decrepit, with the town hall, the guild, and the shop being the only places open. It seems empty. However, all the buildings can be opened and upgraded as you collect and spend ore that you find in the tower. The buildings, when unlocked, allow you to then upgrade your character's attack, defense, health, skill, and many more things as you progress. The hub town is ever growing as you progress throughout the game and opens the door for your character customization. The core part of the game though comes into play when you journey into the Forsaken Tower. It is here that you are fighting through hordes of enemies to earn the resources to reclaim your town. The game plays like a traditional overhead twin stick shooter with a standard attack and up to 3 skill attacks to use. The skill attacks are limited by your mana, which can be replenished by picking up mana orbs slowly over time or by using a potion. The skill attacks, while definitely some of the coolest parts of the game, are also vital for taking out crowds of enemies and extremely useful throughout every single run. There are 6 core areas in the tower itself, each with its own separate enemies followed by a unique boss fight. The boss fights are some of the most exciting parts of the run because they all take strategies to defeat them instead of just hacking your way through. As good as it feels to defeat the bosses, the loot that follows is almost always disappointing. Usually just one piece of ore, which are found constantly in the run anyways, and a small character upgrade that only lasts for that particular run. Regardless of the limited rewards, the bosses are your key to advancing to the next area to complete the tower. Also, once you have defeated a boss, on your next run it opens up a red portal at the start of the area to advance quicker to the furthest area that you've gotten to. Inside the red portals is a challenge of hordes of enemies, but completing these challenges to advance is way faster than working your way all the way through the tower yet again. The completion of the tower in general is no easy task though. This is a slow game that takes patience, and upgrading your character will be a requirement. Each area is also littered with chests to open, shops to buy items from, effects towers to boost your stats, and more to assist you on your run. By having these throughout the levels, it gives the player reasons to explore every crevice of the level before advancing further. However, the main reason for exploring every area is simply to find the ore. Like I stated earlier, this is what you use to upgrade your town and therefore your character, and is a vital part of the game. When ore and money is found inside the level, it is not automatically sent back to the town though. You have to send it back through a mine shaft, which are also randomly scattered throughout the levels. Each run has plenty of things to discover, and with the constant looking for upgrades, towers, mine shafts, boredom is not going to set in. They did a great job of making this game far more than just a simple hack and slash. The completion of the entire tower will take players well over 20 hours, and even after that is done, this Ultimate Edition also includes 2 DLCs to expand the adventure even further. While the single player mode of this game is fun on its own, the best way to experience this game is definitely through multiplayer. While couch co-op isn't an option, the online co-op is extremely well executed. Allowing up to 4 players in a round, the game opens the door to having a diverse team to take on the enemies and the bosses as you journey through the game. The only downside when playing like this though, is the host is the only one who can use the ore to upgrade the town. This opens the door for joining players to potentially upgrade their character abilities far faster than the host. However, even despite this, the multiplayer is by far some of the most fun you're going to have in a roguelike game. While I have put a lot of hours in this game, and I truly do think it's a wonderful roguelike romp, there are still a few drawbacks to the game. The first being, about 10 hours into the game, most players are going to hit somewhat of a brick wall as far as advancing, and are going to take some time out to farm for ore and money. And by some time out, I mean about 5 hours or so before being able to effectively advance again. This brings the fun and momentum of the early game to a pretty quick halt and could lose some of the player base in the process. A second drawback of the game is some of the level designs, and with this I'm not talking about the randomness of the levels, but rather the puzzle aspects of it. For example, in Area 2, the prison, you have to push hidden buttons to open up secret areas to get money, ore, and treasure chests. However, when I say they are hidden, I mean they are hidden. Sometimes you get lucky and they're just obviously on the wall, but sometimes they're in the shadows or behind vines, and you just end up having to go around the entire level pressing the action key, hoping to find the button. This got very tedious and made me just say forget about the buttons on some levels and just move on because it felt overly difficult for such small rewards. Despite these few drawbacks though, Heroes of Hammerwatch Ultimate Edition is a very well executed and solid roguelike game. It is a retro aesthetic that is timeless and packed with more hours of gameplay than most AAA games on the market. The game sells for $20 on the eShop, and for the vast majority of players, this is a bargain for the amount of content and entertainment you're going to get out of it. It's addictive, challenging, and most of all, it's just a fun game to play. Venture past the main roguelikes that everyone knows and talks about, and give Heroes of Hammerwatch Ultimate Edition a try. If you enjoyed this video though, be sure and like and subscribe to the channel, and as always, go out there, find a great game to play, and just simply have a great rest of the day.